Welcome to the September 27th, 2023 meeting of the Oceanside City Council. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask for roll.
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Keim. Councilmember Joyce. Here. Councilmember Robinson. Here. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. Please stand for the invocation. Tonight we have the honor of having Dr. Hal Seed, lead pastor for New Song Community Church.
Thanks for having me. Hey, before I pray for you, I want to say this to you. I moved my family here 32 years ago, and I'm grateful for all the work you guys have done. This city has gotten better almost every year, and fantastically better over the 32 years. I'm glad to live in Oceanside, and I'm glad for what you're doing, and glad you're doing it, and I'm not. Let me pray for you.
Thank you.
Father, thank you for this city that we get to inhabit, and the sunshine that is almost always here, and the beach, and the pier, and the mission, and the people. Tonight I pray for wisdom for these men and women as they've gathered to lead our city. I pray for them, for their families, that you would provide for them, you'd give them joy and happiness and provision. And then together tonight in this meeting, you'd give them wisdom and synergy. You'd move our city forward in ways that would help every citizen and be of honor to you. And I pray this in your name, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Joyce, if you could lead us.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And we do have a proclamation this evening. Maggie Mesa, if you could please join me here. We do have a very special proclamation in honor of Blue Star Families Welcome Week. And this means so much. This means so much to us here in Oceanside because Camp Pendleton is really just next door and really part of Oceanside, so much of our fabric, our history. So it is an honor that we're able to do this proclamation. Whereas Blue Star families seek to empower military families by connecting them with their neighbors, individuals, and organizations to create vibrant communities of mutual support. And whereas Blue Star Families annually designates the week beginning the second to last Saturday in September and concluding 8 days thereafter as Blue Star Welcome Week. And whereas during this week, we recognize the 600,000 active duty and transitioning military families who move to new communities like Oceanside each year. And whereas nearly half of these permanent change of station, that's PCS, moves occur during the summer. And whereas only 33% of military family respondents to the 2022 Military Family Lifestyle Survey reported that they feel a sense of belonging to their local civilian community. And we have to do better than that, right? And whereas a sense of belonging is essential to the well-being and readiness of military families. And whereas we commit to ensuring that military and veteran-connected families feel a strong sense of belonging to their local civilian communities. And whereas we express gratitude for the sacrifices made by service members, transitioning veterans, and their families. And whereas we encourage civilians nationwide to welcome military and veteran-connected families into their communities. And whereas since Camp Pendleton was established in 1941, the City of Oceanside has served as a home community to many active and veteran military families, resulting in very strong ties between and within our communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther C. Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim September 23rd, 2023 through October 1st, 2023 as Blue Star Welcome Week in the City of Oceanside. Thank you so much. Maggie, you are the chapter director, right? And what does that mean?
So I'm the chapter director of Blue Star Families. We're a national organization, but the chapter here is all of San Diego County. My job is to really connect our partners within the community, that's businesses, schools, libraries, to really recognize who our neighbors are, our military neighbors. My husband retired from the Marine Corps outside of Camp Pendleton here 4 years ago, and we call Oceanside our home. And I want to say, too, that I have seen Oceanside grow, and I see that we are all reaching out to our Camp Pendleton military families and veterans, and we can do a better job, but we're doing really great right now. And Mayor, I appreciate your support for the last few years for this proclamation.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, thank you. Let's give a great big hand for Blue Star families. Yes, picture. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, item number 4 is a closed session report. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. The City Council met earlier today in closed session at 3:30. There was no meeting on item 1, and there was also no meeting on item 3. The council did meet on item 2A and B. 2A1 is involving a complaint from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Item 2A2 is a workers' compensation case in the matter of Regalado versus the city. And item 2AB1 is significant exposure to litigation involving one threat from Riverwatch. Those items were discussed. There's no action to report under the Brown Act.
Thank you very much. Next are the consent calendar items, items 5 through 17. Staff has removed item number 18. There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
We do have an item pulled by a member of the public,
Okay.
item number 11.
Item number 11.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll go ahead and second the motion. Let's go ahead and vote on this for approval of the balance.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 11 is approval of Amendment 4 to the professional services agreement with Dawkin Engineering in the amount of $58,620 for revised contract amount not to exceed $1.5 million for the preparation of additional design documents for the coastal rail trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Morse Street, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment upon receipt of all necessary documents. Mr. Knott?
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Last night at the South O meeting, what we had was a number of different people speaking as to the coastal rail trail. And one of the community members was talking about childhood safety and going from one area, from Lincoln Middle School, down through getting onto different areas of the city. And they were suggesting some different access points. I would consider maybe having a Doken talk to these people that don't know if it's going to affect any of their design concepts. Also, the other thing I would like to take and bring forward is that in about, well, I guess about 27, 30 years ago, when some of this was originally being brought forward, there was a linkage to the east-west rail trail that was being considered. I did not see that into any of the plans. So if that can be also looked into. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. This item is for preparation of additional design documents. did you want to respond to him? Are there any opportunities for additional input?
Honorable Mayor and council members, good evening. My name's Kimberly Corbin with Development Services, Associate Engineer. I am the project manager on the Coastal Rail Trail from Oceanside Boulevard to Moore Street. As far as the scope of work, it is for Oceanside Boulevard to Moore Street. As far as what you have in front of you is for additional FEMA analysis to be done as part of the project. It does not include anything about the linkages, the east-west linkages. That's not within this scope of work. Jonathan Smith, who is our other project manager for the Buccaneer Parks project, was hosting the meeting last night and documented some of these comments, and we are aware of some of these comments.
Okay. All right, thank you. There's a motion to approve. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. On to general items. Item number 19 is approval of Amendment 1 to the professional services agreement with Main Street Oceanside in the amount of $1.8 million to continue management of enhanced safety and security in downtown Oceanside for a period of 15 months, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. We've got a report by Michelle Geller, our Economic Development Manager. Ms. Geller?
Waiting for it to pop up here. There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michelle Geller, Economic Development Manager, here to present item 19 regarding enhanced security in downtown Oceanside. The recommendation this evening is to approve an amendment to the PSA with Main Street Oceanside in the amount of approximately $1.8 million to continue management of enhanced safety and security in downtown Oceanside through next year and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment. For some background, just about 1 year ago, it'll be 1 year tomorrow, City Council approved the original PSA with Main Street Oceanside for a pilot program for enhanced security in downtown Oceanside. And then in June of this year, the fiscal year 23-24 Measure X operating budget was approved, which includes funding for an extension of enhanced security downtown. As outlined in the scope of work attached to the PSA amendment, this contract includes 4 trained security officers patrolling the service area 24/7. As shown on the map on the last page of the scope of work, which I'll show enlarged in a moment, the service area has been expanded to include additional properties beyond the footprint covered over this last year. Throughout the past year of operations, downtown security officers have worked closely with Oceanside Police and fire departments and with the city's homeless outreach team to connect unhoused individuals they encounter with needed social services. $149,000 of this contract will be paid using funds from the downtown Oceanside PBID, Property Business Improvement District, in alignment with the management district plan for the PBID, which provides for safety and security downtown. And then lastly, Main Street will receive an administration fee in the amount of $123,000 to cover management, tracking, oversight, and reporting on the enhanced security program. As I mentioned, the service area for this extended contract will expand to include additional downtown properties. So the small map is this last year's service area, and then the larger map is the expanded area. Main Street actually was able to negotiate a larger service area for minimal additional cost due to the security company having a year of operations to familiarize themselves with the area and to establish a consistent level of service. To give you an idea of the type and frequency of interactions the security guards have had in the downtown area over the past year, these are average numbers per month. So on average, guards have about 1,600 contacts with downtown residents, businesses, and visitors. This includes establishing rapport with business owners. When a new business comes in, they go in and they meet with the business and introduce themselves. Employees of the businesses, sometimes they walk them to their cars, if they're getting off work late, responding to complaints, assisting with questions, acting sort of as ambassadors downtown, and other interactions with the community. And then each month, security officers tend to have contact with maybe the same 25 individuals experiencing homelessness and then an additional 100 or so others that would be considered new contacts in the month. On average, security officers refer 90 individuals per month experiencing homelessness to services, and on average, about 17 referrals are made to police or fire department because of criminal activity or a medical need. Since the security officers had begun operating downtown about a year ago, feedback from the downtown community, so that's residents, businesses, visitors, has been overwhelmingly positive. While there have been a handful of incidents where individuals had negative experiences with a security officer, those incidents are dealt with seriously and swiftly by the company's leadership. And additional training and accountability has been included in this amended PSA to ensure the security officers are performing their work professionally. And these are just a handful of testimonials that you can see here from business owners and residents expressing support for the enhanced security program. So to wrap up, again, the recommendation is to approve the amendment to the PSA with Main Street to continue management of enhanced safety and security downtown for the next 15 months and authorize the city manager to execute the amendment. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Gumaro Escarjega from Main Street Oceanside is here to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Ms. Geller. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
Yes, we do. We have one request to speak from Patty Kay.
Okay, Ms. Kay.
Good evening. Just a positive comment for the gatekeepers since I live down in that area. It's been a welcome addition to our downtown security. I think anybody that's come down probably sees the difference. I certainly do every day. And so the fact that you are going to expand it is even better. So yes, vote yes for the additional year and a half or whatever for gatekeepers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To the council, Councilmember Robinson.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll move the item, but I just wanted to comment that they are doing a pretty good job downtown, I would agree, but that doesn't mean that necessarily that they go away. In my district in 2, we see more and more, at least my observation, of homeless and individuals moving inland. So just only say that eventually we're going to have to, I think, look at services that we can provide other than just in our downtown area.
Okay, Councilmember Joyce.
Thank you. You mentioned that there was going to be additional training. Can you describe or give us a little more information about what training is going to be changed from this year, from last year?
Certainly, and Gumaro, if you'd like to also come up. There will be monthly trainings on site at the Main Street Oceanside office, and so, that is one aspect that they're going to be right there on site, and I'll let Gumaro take over.
Yeah, last year during this PSA, we did not require them to do training. This year, I am requiring them to do monthly trainings at our Main Street Oceanside office for de-escalations, training properly how to prepare themselves when they handle unhoused population, or any transients out there as well that are just coming, to no good in downtown. But also is additional training with our local partners and see what sort of resources are there for them to continue to provide for these unhoused or transients in downtown.
So that kind of touches the second piece is how do these folks connect individuals to services as like a private security team without, how do they know what to do? How do they know how to connect them, I guess?
So we do meet with regular partners. We met with the homeless outreach team last year, where we'll continue to meet with them. Actually, the San Diego Rescue Mission has been a huge contribution to this in downtown. They are allocating about 6-7 hours a day, 2 hours at the library to handle this situation. And that's on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. And we continue to look at that as a great source for us to leverage with the Navigation Center opens.
Okay. So the rescue mission is working alongside?
Yes, they're working really well together. They have built this rapport in the last 6 months, and it's just gotten better and better every day. Actually, the San Diego Rescue Mission uses our office as well for one-on-one consultations with unhoused population or transients that need some resources.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. I did want to kind of also follow up with what Councilmember Robinson said. When folks, because this service moves people out of a space, and so they don't disappear. They do go to some other space, which we've seen just outside of downtown and down the hill, where we've seen incidents go rise because, I mean, we can't say it's directly because of this, but it certainly could be a contributing factor. So that's a concern, and it's a lot of money. It would be my preference to do a shorter contract. Is there a reason that we're going to 15 months versus a year like we had before, or?
Just to make it go through the end of 2024.
Is there an additional reason? I didn't know because our fiscal year ends in June.
So
I
our
just didn't-
PBID sunsets in 5 years, and the funding stops after 5 years will be 2024, 2025. However, we are in the middle of addressing a new assessment district. We hope that will change. Once that changes, this goes through, and by next spring, we'll come back to the table and see what else we can do to help with that budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Weiss?
So I'll second the motion, but we're using Measure X funds, is that correct?
Yes, portion of Measure X funds is the majority, and then PBID funds is the
Which
portion.
essentially will go away at the end of 2024. So, but I'll second the motion.
Thank you. And I am going to support this. However, I do would like to see some kind of a report back in terms of the impacts to other areas, because we really need to address, those situations as well. Do we need to include that in the motion, or is staff fine with including understanding that I'm asking for a report? I guess from Mr. Arcega, he has agreed to it, but I don't know if we need to do anything more. Mr. Arcega?
We're actually meeting with Michelle after this meeting here to give you guys better data analysis of what we're doing. We're meeting with gatekeepers to see what kind of data looks like. We'll be reporting on a monthly basis from here on out to the Economic Development Department.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like I need to have it included. Thank you very much. Councilmember Joyce?
So that report can include how many referrals, because we would expect that rate to go up for referrals. And then you want to know more about contacts outside of the space? What exactly?
Yeah, the impacts, and that was a concern that I had the first time around, and this time we're a little more adept at, I believe, in terms of gathering data and analyzing that data. So I am asking that it include any impacts to outside of the area. Are we pushing folks into, I'm hearing District 2, District 1, probably maybe District 3. I'd like to get that information.
Is the monthly report in the current agreement?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Right. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
My indicator is not working, but, oh, there it goes. Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 20 is introduction of an ordinance amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 2, Sections 2.164G and 2.1.65 to provide for mayor appointments to regional boards and commissions and the deputy mayor position at the second meeting in December. We have a report by Mr. Mullen.
I'll be very brief. At your last meeting, you directed staff,
That was
i.e.
quick.
me, to draft amendments to the code with the idea that we want to do regional appointments in the deputy mayor position at the second meeting in December after the election results are certified and after, if there were new members, they would have been seated. And so I've drafted those amendments to section 2.1.64 and 2.1.65, and I'll go ahead and title those, Mayor, if you would like, and answer any questions that you may have. So this is the, sorry?
Any requests to speak from the public?
There are no requests to speak
Okay.
from the public on this item.
This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code, Chapter 2, Sections 2.1.64 and 2.1.65 to provide for mayoral appointment of regional board and commission members and the deputy mayor position at the second meeting in December.
I'll move the introduction of that the ordinance be introduced. Is there a second? Okay, let's vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're now on public communications on off-agenda items, starting with advanced written requests to reserve time to speak. I understand that B and C have been removed or recalled.
David Baxter and Ken Layton
Okay.
have been pulled from the agenda.
Thank you. So start with Mr. Joseph, is it Marquisi? I am probably, and he is to speak on Public Rail and Transit Center.
Put the slide up itself, or can somebody help me with that? Wonderful.
Our Assistant City Clerk will help you.
Ooh, that's nice. And there's also a slide that I sent.
Yep, the other, it's there.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. My neck was starting to hurt when you put it that way.
Thank you very much for allowing me. Could you help me with the slide on the computer? Oh, you got it. Okay, great. Thank you. Because I wanted to open with that slide. So thank you very much for allowing me to address this issue of the Oceanside Transit Center and its challenges with regard to passengers logistically transversing the center and finding their appropriate train or light rail, whether it be the coaster, whether it be the Sprinter, or more importantly, Amtrak, which travels north and south of Oceanside, as well as Metrolink, which travels north. So this particular business plan was put out by LOSAN, which is the regulatory agency for the Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Luis Obispo network travelers. And it shows that out of 34 stations, in figure 4.9, out of 34 stations across California, Oceanside has the worst delay of 14,000 minutes in a year. So this just illustrates the need for signage and coordination with what I think would be a great opportunity to put a hub terminal that has the ability to direct people with spokes and with gateways, if you will, or gateways to the particular location where each of the trains travel. Now, as you all know, Metrolink comes down from Orange County, does not go south. It's on track number 2, which is the far northwestern track. Amtrak travels on track 1, which is a track that is the northeastern side of the concourse. And of course, Coaster is about a mile walk from the transit center. It's very difficult to logistically get there, and it is divided by a barrier, a fence, if you will, that goes alongside and adjacent to Sprinter. It's quite a logistical nightmare when you have numeration of the tracks going in a circular fashion, so it's confusing for passengers. Now, this particular graph, excuse me, I don't know how I change over to this particular one. There we go, thank you. I took this last Saturday, just a few days ago, that's why I wasn't able to get it in, but you'll notice it's a panoramic view of the Oceanside Transit Center. And very small, if you can see it, next to the white sign in the center, there's a woman named Veronica, a Filipino woman, that's 72 years old. She's standing there, unable to negotiate where to go. She was traveling back up to Orange County. And as I took this picture, I had no intention of taking Veronica's picture, but I did. And when I captured it, I walked towards my destination, which would be Metrolink. She flagged me down and she said, "Sir, can you please help me? I'm going to Orange County." I said, "Well, what are you traveling?" And she said, "Metrolink." She had no clue where she was to go. The signage was difficult, and the track for Metrolink is through an underground passageway to the other side of the concourse. So I had to physically take her luggage, go down the pedestrian walkway, which was underground, and help her negotiate to Metrolink station. The signage is so difficult to find, and she had no idea where she was going. So the answer to this dilemma, if you will, is that since the task of departing Oceanside is so daunting and confusing for many, and signage is absent, and right now, with the exception of NCTD, which has an office about 3/4 of a mile away from the tracks, with the exception of that, there are absolutely no agents, no offices for either Amtrak, Metrolink, or any of the other trains that would, well, of course, Coaster and Amtrak, or Coaster and Sprinter are NCTD. So having a center hub in this particular lower right picture, this is my feeble attempt to try to show that a central located in this area, centrally located building, a hub, if you will, that has gateways to each of the terminals would make it so much more difficult for passengers to find their particular agency, whether it be Metrolink, Amtrak, or Coaster Sprinter, or having signs with kiosks in it would make it so much more advantageous. So that's my appeal to the City Council. I don't know if you have jurisdiction over this, if I'm talking and barking up the wrong tree, but I know NCT owns the property. I just think that here at the City Council, some pressure could be applied to make this transit center a much better transit center that doesn't have the delays.
Thank you. And Rob, could you talk to him? Thank you. Thank you very much. Next person is Patty Kay.
Good evening again. I have a few points that I'd like to make. You all took an oath to support and defend the U.S. and the California State Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Am I to assume that includes the Oceanside mission statement? To enhance our quality of life? Does that also include the vision statement from the city that for the City of Oceanside will be a safe community? Your residents have learned over the past few weeks that Oceanside is serving immigrants who are seeking asylum. I respectfully ask, why was Oceanside selected? How does aiding the immigrants at the transit center keep Oceanside safe? The purpose of legal immigration process is to ensure that immigrants are properly vetted, focusing on the following: 1, economic self-sufficiency; 2, public health. There's a valid concern to protect Americans from contagious diseases that may be brought by these immigrants. 3, to verify the legitimate identity of the immigrants and screen for criminal history. 4, to screen out seditious persons hostile to America. It is known that the current vetting process is insufficient. Tom Brinsman, well-known author of reports from the Mexican border, states, Homeland Security is overwhelmed and cannot do adequate vetting. A border agent also reported that since the migrants come from outside of our country, that our system has little information on them to check. Robert F. Kennedy makes several points. 1, ruthless criminal cartels have woven drugs, immigration, and human trafficking into a multi-billion-dollar business. 2, fentanyl and methamphetamines are flooding into the country along with the migrants. This is the part of the cartel's integrated business model. The whereabouts of 85,000 children separated from their parents are unknown. There are 2 ways, he says, that people enter the country illegally. 1 is by sneaking in. The other is simply to walk across at any entry point, claim asylum, and then disappear. It appears that Oceanside is helping the latter. Do you want to be liable if one of these migrants causes a serious offense, like this gentleman did down in Eagle in Texas. Are you promoting modern-day slavery if these migrants are indeed indebted to the cartels for years or for their lifetime? Why is Oceanside always being dumping ground? Oceanside is second only to a much larger city of San Diego in the homeless count. Note the numbers on the chart. Oceanside is the only coastal city that I know that is getting migrants dropped off at the transit station. Is the city encouraging this by supporting Interfaith, Vista Community Clinic, LGBTQ Resource Center? Who gave the city the authority to do this? We, the people, do not want it. We ask you to reconsider the grants and service agreements with these organizations, as they are supposed to be servicing, at least Interfaith, our homeless population. As elected officials, we ask that you take action by having these nonprofits work for the undocumented at the border, not in Oceanside. That would be more reasonable. We asked in May meeting what the council's plan was to deal with the border invasion. We have never received any answer. And yes, invasion is an appropriate term as described by the Department of Homeland Security official. They say migrant crossings are surpassing 8,600 in a 24-hour period this week. That's up from around 3,500 daily. This is what is happening if you haven't seen it on the news. Supervisor Jim Desmond says it's a failure of our government, but local, state, and politicians are offering legal permits to work and taxpayer-funded benefits. We see the federal government has tied our hands as far as homeless and with immigrant invasion. President Biden, in a speech before Title 42 expired, said we need more Venezuelan workers. He promises to give them permits, Social Security numbers, and benefits if needed. He has opened the door. I hope you lock your door at night, because we can no longer depend on the federal government to protect us. This is not drama.
Thank you.
This is real. Oceanside, you are not a sanctuary city.
Thank you.
Please exercise your local control. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are not a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
So,
just very briefly.
did you want to speak?
Yes, please. Madam
Okay.
Mayor. I want to again address using the word invasion when you're talking about folks who are seeking legal asylum. It has inspired violence, and it is a dangerous phrase to use.
Thank you. Well, I would like to also state that the City of Oceanside is in fact asking that we are not be a drop-off by the Border Patrol. So our staff, our city manager's office has written in the strongest words possible to our representatives regarding these drop-offs from the Border Patrol. We did not ask for them. They are happening. These are, in fact, folks who are legally here, have been processed, and have a date with immigration, and are on their way to a destination most of the time to their sponsoring families, which are outside of the state of California. So bottom line is, I understand the potential interpretation of what are these nonprofits and churches doing. They're actually helping to ensure that these folks don't remain in Oceanside and continue on their journey home. And when I say home, their destination, their sponsoring family, so that they can start working. So next item is communications from the public regarding items not on the agenda. How many requests do we have to speak?
We currently have 15 speakers.
15?
15.
Okay, I'm going to ask that they be cut down to 2 minutes each. All right, 2 minutes each.
Okay. Our first speaker is Kim Stone, to be followed by Debbie Wanamaker, to be followed by Dee Keck, to be followed by Douglas Smith.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Councilman, very shortly you will be asked by a developer to approve an item that will appear on the agenda. And it's in regards to a 5.7 thousand square foot warehouse and distribution center. It's going to be placed over near the airport, our small municipal airport. We feel that this does not fit with the city's vision and the new general plan, the revised general plan that you're working on. The traffic impact alone is going to create a lot of congestion for us, for the neighbors, it's going to create pollution. It's also going to impede the ability of the services to provide safety and emergency services. More importantly than anything, the developer has not been transparent with us. Matter of fact, they have actually been deceiving of us, leading us to believe that it's going to be much smaller than it is. And so therefore, we're just here to alert you to the item that's going to be coming forward and ask that you not support it, because it does impact a number, well, at least 1,200 homes are impacted by it, as well as I might mention that we have over 5,000 signatures to date. So we are organized and we are opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stone. Debbie Wanamaker, followed by D. Keck, followed by Douglas Smith.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, my name is Deborah Wanamaker, and I live above the drive-in theater, the old drive-in theater, and I'm here to speak about the Eddie Jones warehouse. The developer has tried to hide the building as much as possible in his plans by trees and et cetera, bushes, that type of thing. But he can't hide the trucks that are going to be going back and forth over Benet. And that is going to be a big issue. The trucks will be going to the 5. They will be going probably to the 15 at different times. And it's just going to be one big nightmare as far as we're concerned. And I just don't think that that Oceanside should be a distribution center of big trucks like Corona is and some of those out in San Bernardino County. And so I am vehemently against it, and I hope that you will be too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. D. Keck, followed by Douglas Smith, followed by Dave Keck.
Good evening, Mayor Sanchez, City Council members. The Blue Crew is back. Several of us would like to share our continued concerns regarding the proposed Eddie Jones Distribution Center. You may get tired of seeing us, but please, we implore you, do not get tired of hearing us. We have lots to say. We hope that you will hear our words. The words are coming from our heart. We daily see the possibilities of this proposed development coming our way, and it's very concerning. When questioned about the number of truck trips, et cetera, that will be coming from there, the developer said he's reducing the number of bays to 57. That's 50% of the 114 that were initially proposed. When we asked them what that meant insofar as trips of trucks and load of service, he said there will be no change. That was concerning and very confusing to us. We have learned that, apparently, the EIR is not being changed in any way to reflect the findings that will support, but rather to support, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But will rather support the worst case scenario, which allows for the scenario of having all 114 truck bays operational at a later date. The EIR is in place. You will be approached insofar as recommending, endorsing, or not this 57-bay proposal. And later, should the tenant or the owner of the building say we want to go up to 114, they can, simply by asking for another cup. In the meantime, you've gone home, we've gone home. It's not on our radar anymore. I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think it's a little misleading, disingenuous, and incredibly frustrating. They can build back up to that 114 because the size of the building hasn't been changed, but rather boarded up. 114 trucks can come in later when a new cup is requested. Please use your discretion and say no. You can do that. That is within your power. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Douglas Smith, followed by Dave Keck, followed by Charles Mayfield.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name's Douglas Smith. I live by the airport. I am very concerned about this development. My point is rather short. It picks up where D left off with regard to the conditional use permit of 114 trucks. I don't see any decrease in the environmental impact report that reflects this 57 trucks. And if it were in there, I think a lot of us who belong to the area and are upset by the 114 trucks would be satisfied because a lot of the other parts, the 5 issues that we have, would also decrease. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dave Keck, followed by Charles Mayfield, followed by Gene O'Neill, Jr.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and member of our City Council. As a member of Oceanside for over 22 years now, I've seen things grow and change. For the most part, these changes came about after undergoing a great amount of thought and consideration by those responsible for protecting and promoting the public health, safety, and general welfare of our community and its members. In the near future, I suspect this council will have the opportunity to either approve or reject the construction of the Eddie Jones warehouse that has been previously mentioned. As I became aware of this proposed project, I could not understand how something this large and detrimental to our community would even be considered. It became clear if you own 3 parcels of land comprising the 31.9 acres and you choose to deviate from both the established comprehensive zoning ordinance and opinion of the community, you might just be able to. The zoning ordinance for this type of facility establishes no more than 6 heavy trucks on the premises at one time. Additionally, any facility over 50,000 square feet of floor area require approval through a conditional use permit. If you extrapolate this out, the light industrial area that is zoned for up to 150 square feet of housing, floor space, and no more than 18 heavy trucks at any one time in the area. Since the initial zoning was established, a housing community of approximately 1,200 homes have been built north of the proposed site. I would like to think that the original planning department's approval of that housing development took into consideration the zoning limitations as they were, and they would not have built had they known that 8 times the number of heavy trucks would be sharing the primary ingress and egress routes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Charles Mayfield, followed by Gene O'Neill, followed by Elena Baker.
Hi, we've moved down here about 2 years ago. We love it down here, and we don't want it to get ugly. And that's what the Eddie Jones project will do. It'll bring a lot of traffic, 114 trucks on a daily basis. Have you ever been down Bennett Road? It's a nightmare now. Can you imagine what it'll be with 114 trucks? And where are they gonna get the freaking water? There's no water right now. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene O'Neill, followed by Elena Baker, followed by Ann Marshall and Mikhail Modello.
Honorable City Council, I'll make this very short and sweet.
I would just like to be on the record that I oppose this Eddie Jones warehouse for all the problems that the Blue Crew has brought up. And I urge you to strike this down and let's make a more vibrant city without the blight. So thank you.
Thank you. Elena Baker.
Hello, my name is Elena Baker, and I am a US citizen, and I've lived in Oceanside, the airport community, for 14 years. And I am very much against this Eddie Jones project. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Marshall.
Hey, I'm Ann Marshall. I'm been a resident for 22 years, and I'm against this. This is going to be the size of 3-4 Costco's with 114 trucks, just causing more pollution on the 76. And so I oppose the Eddie Jones project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Mayor Sanchez, Deputy Mayor Keem, and City Council. My name is Michael Modello. I live in the airport community, which will be impacted by Eddie Jones. And I first spoke with you guys last year regarding actually Ocean Camp project. And just so everyone's on the same page, the proposed Ocean Camp is 90 acres, and it's only about a half a mile from the site of Eddie Jones, which is roughly 32 acres. So it affects the same 1,200 houses community. The real issue is traffic, because there's only 2 ways to exit and enter our community. On the east side, there's Benet, and on the west side, there's Fusat. It's bordered by Pendleton. We're against the Pendleton fence. There's a lot of brush back there. In fact, there was a fire last summer, and it was to the credit of the firemen that they could get there and save homes. It happened in our cul-de-sac with a mandatory evacuation. That's my #1 concern, is we have talked to the developer, we've gone to the meetings, and they do seem to be disingenuous. We told them we were concerned about the fire evacuation issues, and their response was, our building will be to code. But respectfully, that's really not the issue, because they have no way to widen the 76. And without widening the 76, putting an additional turn lane, which was their solution, really isn't going to do much when you have, let's say, best case scenario of 57 truck bays down from the 114, which, by the way, the current laws only allow 18 on it. So that's my #1 concern. And also, it just doesn't fit in with vision of attracting tourists and attracting a family community to a property that's so ocean close. Ocean Camp did that. A lot of us had concerns about Ocean Camp, but I would say most of the members in our neighborhood and the people who are speaking were actually in favor of that project. It beautifies Oceanside, it brings in revenue, tourists, and it beautifies the city. And I don't think that Eddie Jones, so far I can't find one redeeming thing about it, but I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Scarlett.
Hi, my name is Scarlett Modello, and I live in the hills behind the Alex Road skate. I go down the bike path on Thursdays for the Sunset Market and to ride down to the skate park. The trucks that would be coming down the hill 24/7 would interfere with me being able to ride my bike. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And how old are you?
13.
How old?
13.
Good for you, 13. Thank you. Mr. Knott?
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. A couple of subjects tonight. First off is regarding the Trico Mobile Home Park sale. As the mayor has said, she has 1 vote. She needs 2 more. And does this council really support seniors who own their own homes and live in mobile home parks? We need to protect these parks from the sales of the parks themselves. I've sent an email to everyone on this council with 1 simple question. Why have you been waiting? There's an ordinance onto our books, it's Article 19, and it provides additional protection for the people who live in the parks that have basically been ignored. We need an urgent study, an immediate study, to include all mobile home parks in a mobile home park district. please implement that now. The second thing is regarding the Eddie Jones property. The owner of the property has, if you read their proposal, they are only including a business. They're not looking at the city's goals or aspirations. How come they're not looking at mixed-use housing onto the property? Could it be that that would interrupt their businesses? I don't know. But it's a perfect opportunity for housing on that property. They would be limited, true, to a certain number of hours of business. Let's look into that.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Richard Newton, followed by Guadalupe Canseco, followed by Michael Richardson.
Honorable Mayor Sanchez, members of the council, and the public, specifically Councilmember Eric Joyce. I want to follow up on your comments about imaginary borders and your view that illegal aliens are not engaging in an invasion as they come by the millions. So I'd like to start off by apologizing to you, Eric Joyce, from me and my generation. My generation just assumed that you were learning in school how lucky you are to be an American and how special America is, but instead you were taught to have disdain and disrespect for America and its rules. America is the flower in the bed of weeds that is human history. Obviously, we can't cover all of human history here, but it is instructive to note that in the Middle Ages, it was the right of nobility to be beheaded. Not to behead, but to be beheaded. As crazy as that sounds to us, consider the other execution methods throughout history that included stoning, burning at the stake, drowning, impalement, and left to rot in a small cage or stone dungeon, often with broken limbs until you die from starvation or exposure. And let's not forget trial by ordeal or outright guilt declared by the local nobility. And this was not limited to Western Europe during this period. Crucifixion, considered one of the worst ways to die, came not from the Romans in classical antiquity, but from the Assyrians in the Middle East 1,000 years before. Now consider the American experiment with trial by jury, restrictions on prosecutors, the right to challenge the authority, the prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment, and the elimination of birthright political privilege. For the first time in history, no other entity, no ancient Greek city-state, not the Roman Republic or Empire, and not England after the Magna Carta, have what we have. So let me say this again. America is the flower in the bed of weeds that is human history. We need to protect it, and as officials, you are sworn to do so. You fail in that duty when you welcome and support illegal aliens that have entered into our country. There is a reason why we must control immigration. The legal process vets immigrants. 5 main reasons: to control the number of immigrants that enter, to ensure that immigrants are financially independent and will not become a public welfare charge, to screen against contagious diseases that may be prevalent in less developed countries, to positively identify that person, and to ensure they are not seditious or hostile to America.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guadalupe Canseco, followed by Michael Richardson.
Hi there, my name is Guadalupe Canseco. I'm a realtor, and I'm also the education director for Roca Festival Latino. We are 11 professionals that are organizing this event. Our office is located in Vista, but we are inviting our neighbors. As Latinos, we like to, we embrace people. So we did search for a venue here in Oceanside, but we couldn't find one. But hopefully we can do it one year here. I missed a lot of the meeting, but I want to say that I am an immigrant. I come from immigrant parents, and I was illegal at a given moment. Now I'm very proud to know that I'm helping families purchase their homes. My dad actually, he lived in Encinitas just in the wilderness at a given moment. So I know that our community has a lot to give. We are putting this event because it's not always just good to, celebrate culture. And this is the month of Hispanidad. We are, entrepreneurs, especially the Latinas, we're thriving. And housing is very important. And so we, as an organization, we say, how can we get to our community? Because, housing is so essential. So we're having this event, we're having food. It's free, and also parking is free. But whatever you eat, of course, you have to pay. We also wanted to educate our community, so we're gonna have lawyers, we're gonna have a lot of different resources, because that is important. And so I just want to say that I'm really happy to be here. Hopefully we can have your presence, Mayor Esther Sanchez. And, you know, I can only tell you that as a realtor, the Latino community, it's very important because we are the ones that are keeping this country moving. And about the last 8 years, the Latinos have been the cohort that has been advancing in purchasing and only will continue to do so. Thank you so
And
much.
could you say
I have
again
some
what
flyers.
the, can you put that up?
Yeah,
Can you help her put
October
that up?
15, 2000 this year.
I'm sorry, what is the name of your event?
Roca Festival Latino.
Okay.
And it's going to be at Palomar College, and we're just really excited. You know, so we're inviting all the different mayors. So we have a lot to
Thank you.
give, and so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Michael Richardson. You live in Vista, right? You live in Vista?
What's that?
You live in Vista too, right?
No, I live in Oceanside.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I live in Ocean Hills, which is in the city limits of Oceanside. Okay, we've all heard that there were 70,000 or so deaths from drug overdoses last year, mostly kids. These were from illegal drugs smuggled into the country. That's 191 deaths a day. 191 deaths a day. Eric, if there's someone massacring 191 kids at your kid's school today, would you rush right up to them with a big smile and give them water and a backpack full of goodies?
Could you address the whole council? I'm sure you meant the whole council.
Well, I don't think that's so, and that's what you do every time you greet these busloads of illegals at the train station. Eric, you do not represent us when you do this. Remember, you were not elected by a majority of the voters in your district. When you allow these illegals to get off the bus, you don't know which one of them will commit one of these atrocities, or bring in some drugs, or disease, or just be a drain on our country. What we want to know is, why are you allowing this to happen? Oh, I know you all say that it's out of your control, it's someone else's fault. But if you knew that someone on that bus would murder 191 of our kids, don't you think you would do something? Why aren't you stopping them at the city limits? Why are you allowing them to get off these buses? Why are you allowing city-subsidized groups to welcome them with open arms? Why are you not stopping this outrage? If you saw sewage pouring into your drinking water, you would do something.
Thank you. All right, next is item number 23.
Madam Mayor, I was just asked because there were some individuals that were trying to register when I called the item, but I do know that there was others that came in a little bit later that wanted to speak, but I would just leave that up to the council.
All right, so how many others?
Two that I know approached me that were trying to sign up when I switched the item on, and then one that came in just a little while ago that wanted to speak.
The council's pleasure? Yes, okay.
And I apologize to the two ladies that I didn't get their names, but I know you were one and then you were another one. So come on down and state your name.
There's somebody. So could you, okay, can you please approach
Come
the
on down.
podium, state your name for the record. You got 2 minutes. And that's 3 people, right?
Well, two approached me when we called the item, and then
Okay.
one came in.
I was the first one that approached him, and then
Okay.
I know this young lady right behind me.
Okay.
Yes, I understand she's
All right,
older,
let's
but
just-
I'm being nice.
let's just
and then
go
that
ahead
gentleman
and-
wanted to speak too.
Just go.
My name is Misty Tinkin. Most of you know me. I used to work here. So I'm going to make this very short and sweet. My issue is with the nonprofits and the migrant issue at the Oceanside Transit Center. I do know that one of them, Interfaith, does receive money from the Oceanside General Fund. I only know that because back when there was a really great city manager, I learned that. That would probably be Peter. Sorry, Peter. And I know for a fact, I still get people that call me to get help. And I direct them to city department heads. And they still have my contact information from when I worked here eons ago. And I don't turn them away because I've always had an open door policy. And I know for a fact that they can't get the needs that they need from these nonprofits because they run out of money and the whole 9 yards, and it's being used on the migrants. Now, Madam Mayor, I do have an issue with you using the word home. They're illegal for a reason because they're not originally from this country, which means they don't have a home. Their home is in Guatemala, Venezuela, Haiti, Nicaragua, all over the world at the moment. So that's my issue.
Thank you very much. Next, please get to the podium. Be close to the podium.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Beth Barnum. I'm an Oceanside resident. This is in regards to the busloads of immigrants that have come in they were dropped off at the transit center. I have an answer for Michael. So in 2018, this is from an article, an Orange County judge ruled that Senate Bill SB 54, California's so-called sanctuary state, is unconstitutional. And because it violates the rights of charter cities, which we are a charter city, we are bound by the state's constitution along with their own adopted charter. General law cities follow the laws set by the state legislature, which we do not. So from this article, it infringes upon local government's authority, saying cities must be allowed to police themselves. Huntington Beach City Attorney Michael Gates called the ruling a victory for the state's 121 charter cities. I'm pleased with the court's ruling. This is a significant victory for the rules of law, the Constitution of California, the city's charter authority, and other charter cities. Oceanside should not allow Sacramento to violate its constitutionally protected rights. Here's another thing. There was a whistleblower from HHS by the name of Tara Lee Rodas in April of this year. She testified in Congress that the government is delivering migrant children to human traffickers. The U.S. is the middleman in a trafficking operation. She detailed, she thought she was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, she discovered that they are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with recruiting in their home country, smuggled to the U.S. border, and ends when Office of Refugee Resettlement delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations. The number of children coming in this year, as of April, was 70,000. In 2020, it was 33,000. So we need to stop the busloads. You do have a choice. You don't have to follow what the state is doing.
Thank you very much. It's not the state, it's the feds. Next. Next, come on down. Speak. Or I can just.
My name is Mike KOCT. I live in Oceanside. I apologize for being late for the sign-up. I was on grandfather duty. I'm here just on behalf of stating my opposition to the Eddie Jones project. I've been working with the grassroots community to fight this project for about a year. I'll be very brief. In my outreach to both the Oceanside community and all my neighbors, I've gotten feedback about universal opposition to the multifaceted dangers and of this project should it come before the council. And on the second point is that so many of these folks felt that their voices don't matter to the city council. And as nervous as I am, I'm here to say that their voices do matter.
Yes, they do.
That you folks will give, should the proposition come before you, you'll give it careful consideration and respect for all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. What was your name again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Michael KOCT.
Thank you so much, Michael. Next. I think you're next.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Susan Custer. The first point I want to make is
that in Rockland County in New York, the first case of polio has been identified in a decade. That's the first case in a decade in the United States. 3 out of 4 people infected with polio don't have symptoms, but they're capable of spreading the virus to others, according to the CDC. Among the rest, most have symptoms such as sore throat, headache that can be easily overlooked and confused. So the city of New York, of course, our budget would be smaller, will spend $30 million on disease detectives and other health pros in preparation for the nightmarish potential outbreaks coming from the influx of illegal immigrants. So my question, of course, is how much have we set aside for that purpose? And anything that we do to support this influx is, I think, encouraging it, and it's not humanitarian. So just a few pictures to show why it's not humanitarian. Along the Darien Gap, these are along the Darien Gap. So this is just a dead man laying there. You can't see it very well, but that's what it is. Okay, this is just an environmental issue with all of these, all the garbage, you can't see that very well either, that is left behind in the Darien Gap, which was previously never explored jungle, so totally was natural and everything. Now it's being destroyed with all this. And this is 15 bodies, thank you, 15 bodies that they're burying in a mass grave that died along the Darien Gap. So there's not much humanitarian effort going to the people that are being died. And then there's the rape trees, which is where the underwear of rape victims is hung. And there's
Thank you.
60% of women come and are raped.
Thank you. Sheila Cada? Last one.
I'm Sheila Cada, and I live in Arrowwood. One thing I want to ask is on Douglas Drive, there's Reynolds School, and I understand that has been permanently closed. So, but the lights are on, and I think you pay, it has water and all that. Maybe we could use that to house homeless people. You know, it has rooms, you know, grades. It has rooms, it has an office, it has bathrooms and stuff like that. So, because it's just sitting there, let's use it for something. And the other thing, I disagree with people complaining about immigrants. Immigrants bring a lot to this country. They enrich this country. My husband's cousin, Hassan Cada, started Syracuse Electronics, and he also designed the Polaris missile system during the height of the Cold War. He was an immigrant. He has created jobs, he has designed stuff. So I say we need to support people, lift people up, and who cares where they come from? If a person is a good person, they're a good person. And who cares what color they are, what nationality they are, or where they come from?
Thank you.
Support all people.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to mayor and her council member items. We do have one item, and that is a request by Deputy Mayor Keim and Councilmember Weiss to send a letter signed by each member of the City Council advocating for local control to Governor Newsom and the California State Legislature. Would like to go?
I'll begin.
Okay.
As many of you in here know, the state legislation coming down, basically tying cities' hands and taking land use control away from local city councils is extremely frustrating. I think one of our most important jobs is land use zoning and figuring out what goes where in our city. That's why we're here. So I drafted a very poignant letter that I think it's important all 5 of us sign and send and do whatever we can to advocate for control being placed with local city councils and jurisdictions.
Thank you. And are there any requests to speak from the public?
Yes, we have 2 requests to speak, and I am activating it right now. Our first speaker is Richard Newton, to be followed by Kelly O'Neill.
Okay, Mr. Newton.
I'd like to point out that my mother was a first-generation immigrant from El Salvador. She came here legally, and I don't think we should conflate the issues of immigration between legal immigration and illegal immigration. They're 2 separate things. Clarify. Honorable Mayor Sanchez, members of the council, and the public. I begin by thanking Council Members Weiss and Ryan for sponsoring this proposal. While discussing this issue in the past, I referenced the observations of a French lawyer, statesman, and member of the French aristocracy, Alexis de Tocqueville. He wrote the highly regarded book, Democracy in America, based on his observations of America in 1831 and 1832. For those who don't know of him, he interviewed senators, congressional representatives, local officials, and even 2 U.S. presidents. If you think that this 19th century book is not relevant, guess again. It is still used in political science and U.S. history coursework, and President Clinton and Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich both quoted from him as they jostled for power in the 1990s. As a foreigner, he was able to see things about America that are invisible to we Americans who simply take the American experiment for granted. As de Tocqueville noted, local government is crucial to democracy. In his native France, he knew that the dictates came downward from Paris with little or no input from the citizenry. In America, he saw that we engage in policy at our local level, as I am doing right now. Local government is far more accessible and receptive to the needs of the people. When you think about it, it makes sense. Democracy is not a system where the people vote in a tyrant who then enforces and micromanages from the top down. No, that is fascism. Instead, democracy is from the people upward, and that means local government upward. It means that local government should manage local quality of life issues, not some distant state or federal government with little or no local knowledge or interest. He summed it up in the 19th century vernacular as follows: a township is to democracy as a schoolhouse is to science. Let me say that again. A township is to democracy as a schoolhouse is to science. Wow, think about that. The role of government is to maintain law and order, basic infrastructure, and protect society from threats. It is an institution with the power to tax and arrest. In a free society, those powers should always be used with great restraint and respect for individual freedom and autonomy. Unfortunately, California today is under one-party progressive Democrat rule. The problem with progressives is that they see government as a tool to implement their vision of society and arrogantly micromanage day-to-day affairs. Not only is it an arrogant abuse of power, but dangerous and inevitably leads to fascism. Progressives are tyrants who feel entitled and empowered to micromanage every detail of citizens' lives. This must stop. Cities represent local interests. Please start a movement among cities and counties to join Huntington Beach and fight the state of California. Push back against the micromanaging dictates of Sacramento Democrats. Start a movement. Don't kneel before the political elites, but fight for freedom and for the people. Push back and make a positive impact on our state and be proud of your actions. Please pass the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly O'Neill.
I'm Kelly O'Neill. Oceanside is my hometown. And this letter starts off good. It says that you guys vehemently object to the litany of legislation that removes control away from local jurisdictions and places land use decisions solely into the hands of the supermajority in Sacramento. So you say supermajority in Sacramento, but that's the illusion. It's really the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. And I hope this letter wasn't the outcome of the California Cities Conference. Because the World Economic Forum and the UN, they're behind the bills SB 8, SB 9, AB 2097, which it talks about in the letter, David Chu, his bills. In the letter, you also say Oceanside will be able to meet our mandated RHNA numbers without rezoning any of our single-family neighborhoods and instead focus on smart and sustainable corridors. That's the World Economic Forum and the UN. So you're trading out. So this is all an illusion. This letter is an illusion. The smart and sustainable corridors, right on the UN's website, it says it seeks to expand mobility options and reduce dependence on the private automobile. No more private ownership. I mean, that's communism. That's coming our way. That's what you guys, that letter is an illusion. This is what Maui is about. They turned our people to ash over these ideals that you want to trade out for. And this is what you're getting behind. And you're not against SB 8, SB 9, SB 2097, because the same people that wrote these bills wrote the Smart and Sustainable Corridors package. So it's an illusion. And Atkins, Scott Wiener, David Chu. Scott Wiener, he's at the Folsom bondage fair right now. You can find pictures of him right there, right on his Facebook page. So they're all part of the UN, and they are UN and World Economic Forum shills. And I don't know if you guys are, but have you listened? Okay, back to Maui. have you listened to Josh Green's UN speech at the 17 Sustainable Development Summit? Yeah, 17 Sustainable Development Summit. So you are either, all of you are either lazy or you're shills for this evil that is coming our way. And the divine, so you can do your own research now. You know, there's a thing called the internet. First we had the Gutenberg Press, which demolished the divine rights of kings. And now we have the internet, which is demolishing the divine right of the media. So, yeah, that's, I don't.
Thank you very much.
I'm not fooled by the letter.
Thank you. All right, that's it for the public. Back to the council. And I don't have Councilmember Weiss.
I'll be happy to sign the letter.
Okay. So this is a request. So you're not looking for a vote here. You're just asking for all of us to sign it on the dais, right? So I've already signed it. Okay, and I want to say that we have never changed our position with respect to local control. The City of Oceanside has always advocated for local control. And all the letters that we send to our legislature and to the governor is always including our position on local control. So we have never, ever, as a city, suggested that we are not supporting local control, completely the opposite. And I think that what is being requested here is that all the council members sign this letter, so that everybody's included, all right? And so you don't need a motion, right? You just want everyone to sign.
Acknowledge it, your sign, so I know. The reason to comply with the Brown Act, we have to do this in an open
Sounds
meeting,
good.
so that's why here. So, but Councilmember Joyce.
So let's see, Councilmember Joyce.
So I appreciate the effort. Always love for us to have a 5-0. That'd be great. Unfortunately, this letter is, it starts off talking about local control, which is an important issue. It's been a frustration. Almost every meeting we have some kind of frustration over local control. However, I can't sign the letter as it's formed for several reasons, and I know that you will ask, so I will just go ahead and tell you up front. I find it to be inflammatory language. That's needless. I think it's going to needlessly inflammatory language. I think there are claims that are made that are either false or unsupported, such as that land use policy that has happened up until now is supposed to increase housing and decrease homelessness. It has the opposite effect. Because two things are happening near the same time, that's a correlation. That's not an effect. Claiming that one is an effect is a false claim, so I can't support that. Stating that land use policy is solely in, trying to find the phrase because I know you'll want specifics. You're good without more conversation? Okay.
Okay, so, Councilmember Robinson, sorry, I didn't see it.
That's okay, I just wanted to say I'll sign it.
Okay. All right, so no other lights, no other discussion. The next item is item number 24, which is adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 35 of Oceanside City Code to exempt for-hire vehicles regulated by MTS from the requirement to obtain a city certificate. It was introduced September 13, 2023. I move adoption.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. No other lights. Please title the ordinance, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you. This is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Chapter 35 of the Oceanside City Code to exempt for-hire vehicles regulated by the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System from the requirement to obtain a city certificate.
Thank you. Please vote. And then there weren't any requests to speak from the public. Okay, thank you. Forgot to ask
Motion
that.
passes 5-0.
Thank you. General council member comments? Councilmember Robinson. Thank you for waiting until now.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report that I was in Sacramento last week at the League of California Cities Conference, and for the purpose of voting on resolutions, which there were none presented, so there was no votes to be taken at that thing, but there were a number of workshops and informational sessions that I did attend. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting to, believe it or not, next Wednesday. We usually skip a Wednesday and then have it following. So our next meeting next Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.